Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement with best-selling author and fiduciary Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
It is estimated that of the more than 310 million people living in the good old US of A, some 50,000 of them go by the same first and last name, John Smith. And while I'm quite certain the vast majority of the 50,000 folks who go by the name of John Smith are just fine, decent people, I would think it might be possible to be confused or associated with another John Smith whose reputation may not be so good. I guess this notion of wanting to carve out one's own identity is why some go to great lengths to change their names to come up with nicknames. In the world of business, and yes, even retirement planning, we call this coming up with your own name a brand. But Tony, you ask, what's in a name and what do given names and brand names have to do with me, my money, and how to invest it in retirement? Well, I'm glad you asked, because today we will discover why the name you associate your money and your retirement with could be the difference between you worrying about retirement versus being worry-free in it. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement name branding specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we take time to understand what's behind the name my parents gave me some 61 years ago, let me first introduce to you a name you've come to know and love over the past 300 or so episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. And I know you've kind of looked over a little bit of the outline of our script today. So your name, did you say your name is a family name or biblical name?
No, it's a biblical name. They found it in the Bible.
Okay, well, that's good. That explains a lot of your righteous behavior around here, so we appreciate that. Brand names. Let's talk about that a minute. There's a great article, and I know you found this one, Aaron. Well, you found several of them. This one is called, it came from Knowable Magazine, The Power of Brands, Conscious and Unconscious. And I won't steal their whole thunder because we'll get into copyright issues, but it gives a good example, Aaron. You and Jessica decide to walk down the aisle at the local grocery store, and you're needing toothpaste. So what generally do you look for? Is there a brand of toothpaste you generally look for, or are you just shopping price?
Not really. For me, it's usually probably price. For Jessica, it might be something different. It might be a name brand, or it might be what the ingredients are in it, for the kids' sake.
Mm-hmm. Cereal, it's that for me. I don't know what it is. I don't buy much cereal anymore, but something about cost cutter, off-brand cereal, I don't know, it just doesn't taste the same. I mean, how do you knock off Lucky Charms, right? But so brands are important. So whether you're going out shopping for toothpaste, buying a car, some people get tied into brand names on cars. There's only certain types of brands they're going to do. But regardless of what it is, a name has a lot to do with who you are. And quite frankly, is that your legal name? Your first name is Aaron, right?
That's correct,
okay.
Yes.
See, my first, and you would know this, Aaron, but my legal name, a lot of people don't know this, Aaron, is not Tony. It's Philip. Then the middle name is Anthony, and Walker, of course, is the last name. So my given name, my legal name was Philip Anthony Walker, still is, but I've always gone by Tony for short, of Anthony, of course, which is perfectly fine by me. It was funny growing up as a kid, Aaron. I always dreaded the first day of class. Why do you think I would dread class, especially in elementary school as a kid?
Because they were probably going to get your name wrong?
That's right. At the first of class, you all remember this, back then they used to call roll, and most people who didn't know me, would get to finally the W's. Instead of calling out Tony Walker, most kids didn't know at that time, my full name was Philip, and I still cringe to think about that. I would go, Philip Walker, and then there I'd be, hey, over here, and then everybody would kind of turn around and get a good snicker out of that. So like it or not, whether your name is John Smith, Joe Schmo, or Philip Anthony Walker, your name creates a huge identity, and here's the point, folks. This is where we're going in today's show. A huge brand that kind of gets associated with you. The term brand, that literally comes from the old days when, well, they still do, cowboys branded cattle or branded something to show ownership or property, but also it identifies. So here, before we take a break, let me kind of throw out the different brand names that are assigned to us folks who advise people on money. You have the brand name of financial advisor. You have the brand name of financial planner. There's financial entertainers. We like to go by the brand name of retirement planning specialist. There's people who are branded as stockbrokers, insurance agents, money managers, wealth managers. I mean, the list that could go on and on that describes what is going on in the financial world in terms of brands. Now, here's what's happening here, and I'm going to cover an article when we get back on this. This whole brand thing is changing quickly because the term retirement planning specialist, income planning specialist, if you will, is getting more and more popular, and that's because more and more people are getting ready to retire. So, folks, you got to watch out with these names. There's only so much that goes into a name, and when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about what is a retirement planning specialist, what is behind the name Tony Walker, and what is it that's so interesting about names and identifiers with names. Good stuff coming your way. You are listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I am Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And what I thought I would do just for a couple of minutes, I haven't done this in a while, Aaron. I know years ago I was talking to an elderly gentleman and he said, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I said, oh, okay. And I started rattling off where I was from. And he said, no, I mean, your credentials. He used those words. What are your credentials? I thought, well, that's a great question. Let me share those with you. And I said, I don't mean to be bragging, but I've done this a long time. And he said, son, if you've done it a long time, you can back it up. It ain't bragging. All right, so real quickly, let me just reel off a few of my credentials. So I got in the business in 1984, the insurance business. My father-in-law at the time, Bill Moore of Bill Moore Insurance, hired me in 84. I really just got exposed to the business. I sold home, auto, whatever I could do. Got licensed in annuities, got licensed in securities in 86. He encouraged me. I started doing more and more estate planning back then, so he encouraged me to get my CLU designation. That was at age 28, actually, Aaron. Back then, that was in roughly 1988. That was a pretty big deal back then. One of the few people that age that had already gotten that degree. So I appreciate him encouraging me to do that. Went out on my own in 89, started what I called then the Walker Group. Speaking of names, that was funny, Aaron. People said, Tony, where's the group, partner? It was me.
Just you.
Yeah, and I thought, that doesn't make any sense. There is no group here. So then I changed the name to Walker Financial Services, Inc., which that's even interesting, Aaron. So after being, wait a minute, before then I went through the CFP, matriculated through that program in the early 90s. And in 94, I guess I was getting a little more traction, and I decided to hire a gentleman in Bowling Green, he was really good at this. He did what's called a focus group. You know what those are, don't you, Aaron?
Yeah.
Describe for the audience in case they don't know what a focus group is.
So that's
what
where
happens?
you just have a set demographic of people, say from a certain age to another certain age, and you come in and you ask them questions about a particular thing. What do you like about this? What do you not like about this? Things like that.
And the brands even, you know, commercials.
Yeah.
They look at commercials.
Yeah, they look at commercials. They might even listen to a radio show like this or something.
Yeah. So this gentleman, he said, Tony, you pay me some money, I'll go get a focus group together and I'll report the results. And it was very interesting. Here's what he said, Aaron. He said, your name, Walker Financial Services, Inc., is pretty well recognizable. That's a good thing, right?
Right.
People recognize the name. He said, but Tony, you got a problem. I said, what's that? He said, people do not know what you do. And I thought, my gosh, well,
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
that's a problem. Because that's the point, folks. In the financial world, we're just talking about finances here, of course, and retirement planning. We just named all of the different types of titles, just the titles, but it's not even just the titles. What do people in the financial world do? There's people that do mortgages. We don't do that. There's people that do individual health insurance. We don't do that. There's people that do what's called money management, where they're constantly buying and selling stocks, and we don't do that. It can go on and on and on. So you say, well, Tony, then what do you do with these credentials of yours? Well, what I found is when 9/11 hit, when I was managing money back then, and I realized people were scared to death and I didn't have a game plan, I decided I was going to go about trying to create a process that could provide people safety and security, but more importantly, a process that myself and the clients could follow along with, and thus that was the Worry-Free Retirement. So that name, Aaron, I think has kind of stuck. It's trademarked. The name was really, I don't know if you knew the history of this, was really so I could tell people the process I was going to take them through with their money. So you come to me, Aaron, and you say, I want to retire. And I said, well, we're going to go through something called the Worry-Free Retirement process. It's a 5-step process to help you worry less about money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, out of that, it developed more and more, kind of developed its own brand. And then right after you and I kind of hooked up after we were on the TV show with the large major network, at the end of that, they even let us change the name of the show. Remember, we started calling it the Worry-Free Retirement.
That's right.
Show. Yeah. Because years ago, I did a TV show back in the 90s called Your Money Matters. Then I went to this large network where I met Aaron. We did a show there by their name. We used their name at the time, which was fine. And at the end, they said, yeah, you can call it your own name, and we changed it to the Worry-Free Retirement. So I have a book called the Worry-Free Retirement. I have a 5-step process. I have a TV show and a radio show now called the Worry-Free Retirement, this radio show. And hopefully that name helps you understand what we're trying to do. Our goal is to help savers worry less about money in retirement. This is why the vast, vast majority of our clients are already retired or nearing retirement. I was listening to one of the shows we did a couple weeks ago, Aaron, and you made that comment. You said, Tony, in all honesty, a lot of the information you're sharing and is not really of interest to me and my friends yet, because you're not quite at that age for retirement, right?
Right.
I mean, you think about it, but you're not really, quote, sitting around planning for retirement.
Not yet, not planning per se.
And that's normal. So that's why most of our clientele that come in are generally already retired, or they're in the mid to late 50s and on up, because they want to start worrying less about money. They don't want to take as much risk. And this is why we came up with the Worry-Free Retirement. Now, one thing I left off, and I think this is really what really separates us from most folks, is because we have something I created on our own called the Worry-Free Retirement Income Software. This was something we started working on back around 2005. In the late 2000s, we got it perfected. I had a programmer. Aaron, we just did that binder we went through that we recorded for somebody. That was the software. You've seen that income software. And it is awesome. And it is unlike anything else out there. And the reason I can vouch for that is, here's an interesting article. Just came out in wealthmanagement.com. It's entitled Retirement Income. Listen closely, folks, because this is going to prove that most advisors do not have the proper ability nor software to analyze retirement. It says, retirement income moves from niche to red-hot center for advice. It starts off this article and says, advisors need better ways to optimize retirement income if they hope to hold on to a grayer client base. Our tech columnist, this was, I guess, at Wealth Management, the company, looks at two innovators that have taken up the challenge. So when I just read that to you, Aaron, that obviously denotes the fact that most advisors don't have retirement income software and understanding, correct?
Right.
Isn't that what you would say?
Yeah.
As people are getting older, that's the grayer client base. What they're talking about in this article, I won't read the whole thing. Let me flip over a couple pages. Yeah, they're talking about this phrase of going from accumulation to decumulation, or what we call the distribution phase. So this is nothing new, Aaron. I've been preaching this for years. And this is like even one gentleman here has created some software that's supposed to be awesome. Well, he didn't create this income software until 2018. So
a little later than you did.
A lot later.
Yeah.
They are what we always talk about. They're talking about the 10,000 people turning 65 every day. They say you definitely have to have a solution. There's too many moving parts in retirement. It's gotten complicated. It's more than just math. All of these are important points. But folks, through the worry-free retirement process, through the income planning software we've created, we have already covered this. And to date, this is at a minimum. It's probably higher than this, Aaron, but the last time I checked, to date, I have personally been responsible for either directing or overseeing 4,000 written game plans. 4,000. So folks, if you're sitting there and you don't have a game plan, if you feel like all you're doing is maybe trying to guesswork with this stuff, or you've got an advisor that's just kind of shuffling money around, or you're like a lot of advisors out there and you've met with some of these advisors and you realize they don't really have any credentials or experience in retirement planning, let me invite you right now to log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Check out our website. Look at all the details we have. Maybe go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com. That's Tony Walker Financial, right? They type in.
Yeah, they just go to youtube.com, and right there at the top there's a search bar. They can just type in Tony Walker Financial.
Okay, yeah. Watch some past episodes. Look at our blog pages. But more importantly, understand that we will be happy to talk to you, to share with you our proprietary income planning software, share with you how we would work with you in retirement, and best of all, there's absolutely no cost or obligation to talk or visit on your situation. Just TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call, 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, when we return, I'm going to wrap up with a couple of interesting things to talk about with brand names, where you might want to retire, and also one of the things we're most proud of at Tony Walker Financial is the growing amount of employees we have to service folks. Yet we had one employee several years ago kind of branch off on her own, and it's an interesting story about brand names and the success of a brand. You're listening to Tony Walker Financial and the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. I am retirement specialist Tony Walker, and I just wanted to take just a couple of minutes to share with you a little bit about my story, my history in this business, and how we've become so successful in helping savers worry less about money. You know, over the past 35 years, I didn't always focus on the saver personality, as I like to call it. Years ago, I used to do a lot of money management. In fact, I've been licensed to sell securities and insurance products since 1986. So I've been able to see all of the major downturns the stock market can offer. But quite frankly, the worst downturn that I experienced personally in my practice was the tragic event of 9/11. You see, right before 9/11, if you go back in time, you could throw a dart at a dartboard and pick your stocks. Everything was doing well. And I guess I took it for granted that everything would always go up. In fact, most of my clients during the 90s were in the stock market and doing very, very well, quite frankly. But then, when they flew into those Twin Towers and everything came tumbling down, not only the Twin Towers, but for 3 years in a row, the stock market went down. I realized that, you know what? I don't like risking my money, and I don't like risking the money of my clients. So following 9/11, I took about the task of trying to find a product and a process that would not only protect my clients' money, but show them how to use and enjoy it, and thus the worry-free retirement process was born. Now, just to clear up some confusion, a lot of people know that we do a lot of annuities. In fact, some people kid in my business, call me the annuity king, because personally I've written about as many annuities as anybody in the country. So yes, I love fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, and fixed interest annuities. By the way, sometimes people will talk about variable annuities. We do not do variable annuities due to the risk and high fees associated with them. But besides writing a ton of annuities, I still have my roots buried in the investment world. So contrary to what many of our competitors might say, we do provide a great investment platform, one of the lowest cost investment platforms in the industry, currently using Charles Schwab as our custodian. So not only do you get myself with 35 years of experience, but you also get varying products. You get annuities. We offer life insurance. We have investment products through our Charles Schwab platform. And most importantly, you get a team of service experts that's going to be with you in retirement long after the sale. You see, folks, retirement is not just a one-shot deal. You don't leave your employer and roll your 401k over to somebody and say, I've got a retirement plan. Retirement planning is much, much more. In fact, there's a huge difference between a retirement planning specialist such as us and maybe what you would call a wealth manager or money manager or even a financial advisor. So not only are we fiduciaries, but all we do is retirement planning. So that sounds like you. If you feel like nobody's really in your corner, if you don't have a written game plan that you can follow and monitor, if you feel like maybe you got too much money at risk, or that your advisor is not really paying close attention to the details of taxes and fees and Social Security, all that goes into understanding retirement planning, why don't you give us an opportunity? There's no cost or obligation to meet with me in person. If you're retired or nearing retirement, we can help. So why don't you just click on the Let's Get Started button, and when you click on that button, here's what's going to happen. Your information is confidentially sent to our office. We don't share that information with outsiders whatsoever. You will be then contacted and arrange either a phone call with myself or to meet in person to discuss your situation. Well, I look forward to talking to you soon. Well, speaking of names, Tony Walker Financial, one of the things as the owner of the company I'm very proud of is the vast majority of our employees staying with us for a long, long time, and we very much appreciate that. There was one employee, though, that decided to not stay with Tony Walker Financial, and actually learning of her journey and her family's journey, I can actually understand why, and she's with us today, Miss Rachel Wilson. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Tony.
Well, as I just said, you worked with us for many years, but under some circumstances that came up with your family and the new business, you decided to take off on your own and join the family business. So give us an update real quick on how things are going and a little bit about the business your family started.
Sure, yeah, things are going great. We're staying super busy, and we decided to open up a coffee shop and cafe here in town, something that I think the city really needed.
Yeah, and you named it Q. We're talking about brand names. Where did this name Q come from, Rachel?
It came from my dad. We were driving in the car one day, and he thought it would be a fun idea, a fun name to go with, something marketable and really catchy, and it works.
And it has worked, because I meet a lot of people around town. Certainly easy to remember. I like that. Now, why being such a small business and being such a young business? I know you all opened smack dab right in the middle of the pandemic. Why do you think you all have been so successful in your endeavor right now?
I really do think it comes down to our customer service and the attention to detail. That goes a long way with people, and that's something we take a lot of pride in.
And, you know, I like to say around here that I tend to eat my own cooking, meaning that the things we do and the products we offer, I tend to purchase those for myself. But you all really do eat your own cooking. Tell us a little bit about how you make things from scratch there, and again, maybe why that makes you unique from possibly some of the huge big boys, as we like to call them, in your business.
Sure, yeah. A lot of our stuff, well, actually all of our stuff is made in-house in our bakery, and that is something that the city doesn't have. Most of the other places, things come in frozen, and they heat them up and serve them. Ours, everything is made in scratch by us, and that people really, really love that.
Well, Rachel, so much appreciate your time with us, and excited about the opportunities for you and your family. And again, thank you for your service to those out there. We sure miss you, but in the meantime, you make it a great day.
Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. All right, so that was an interesting interview with Rachel. And again, we continue to wish them best of luck. And I think it kind of bodes well, though, to transition real quickly as to why we put them on there. You know, Aaron, you're in our marketing meetings every Tuesday, and I know you get to watch a little bit. You're not technically employed by Tony Walker Financial, but you know a lot about us. I mean, didn't you see the similarities in the way we try to approach our clients. We're very personalized. We've got family. I think we all genuinely care about the products and what we're doing. You see the similarities?
One of the number one things Rachel said makes them different is their customer service, and that their stuff is all in-house.
Mm-hmm. Homemade. I love that.
Yeah, homemade. Yeah. She said we make everything from scratch. I love that. It's kind of like what we do here. I mean, all your income software. I mean, that's built. You hired a company to build that for you.
That's right.
And that's Tony Walker Financial exclusive.
That's right. Yeah, so I love that. Of course, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I love to watch entrepreneurs build things out and succeed. One of my favorite entrepreneurs, of course, he's been deceased for years. I know you know who Thomas Edison was, right?
Yeah.
He had a funny saying. I always remembered this because I don't sleep well, folks, but he said, I sleep when I get sleepy, and I eat when I get hungry. You know what he meant by that, Aaron?
He just does what he wants. I don't know.
yeah. Just kind of did what he wanted. He felt that he didn't really operate on a timetable. I just thought that was very interesting. Anyway, so in our closing comments here, since this is a retirement planning show, this is changing things a little bit, but really not. Aaron, in his research for today's show, again, this is really What's in a Name is really the title of the show. But this is what I found interesting. And let's not give them the answer. Let's take a range. Okay, if you were going to guess Kentucky. So think of Kentucky, folks. Most of you live in Kentucky. I know we've got a gentleman that listens to the show that lived in Kentucky, but he listens to it online down in Florida. He lives there now. But would you really think, Kentucky is a state to retire in. Let's call it 5 being absolutely, people would think it's the best state to retire in. 3 so-so, and 1 not a very good state to retire in. What do you think most people out there would guess for retirement Kentucky would rank among other states?
I would say, I would probably say a 3. Probably just a so-so state.
I agree. So, Aaron, what did you find out on the rankings?
Kentucky is ranked as the 5th best state to retire in. They're actually tied with another state.
Wait a minute, don't say it. Who do you think? We'll give the audience a chance to guess for a minute. Go ahead. I know you're listening, folks. So we're tied 5th with another state that probably you would associate more with retirement. You want to give them that answer now, Aaron?
That is the state of Florida. We are tied for the 5th best state to retire in with Florida. But for us to be the 5th best, that blew me away.
And again, I think we were reading a little more closely in the article. Since this is from Yahoo Finance, I think it's the tax situation, and Florida is actually much better tax-wise than Kentucky. But folks, you've got to realize something. If you have a qualified IRA, a pension, currently I think it's $31,000. The first $31,000 of that income is not subject to state income taxes in Kentucky. For instance, in Indiana it is. So it might be the taxation, which I don't think Kentucky's that cheap, but and Kentucky's, I think, relatively safe. Wouldn't you consider Kentucky a pretty safe state? I mean, there's certain areas and pockets maybe, but so anyway, it's just interesting. Now, one of the top states to retire in, this one really shocked me. And before Aaron gives the answer, please, no offense to anybody that lives in this state, what is one of the top states to retire in, Aaron?
You ready for the answer?
Go ahead.
West Virginia.
Silence. Crickets. That one,
that blew me away more than Kentucky being 5th.
Yeah. And again, apparently, this came from Yahoo Finance. I'm sure if somebody else did this, it'd be different. It was the cost of living. So folks, when you think of retirement planning, I think what these articles are kind of teaching us a little bit or reminding us is you do have to watch your money that you spend in retirement. And I think the reason a lot of people flock to these states, whether it's West Virginia, Iowa's number 1, Florida, Kentucky, it's the cost of living. So tying that into retirement, my question is, do you have a cost of living game plan? Do you have a retirement specialist whose name you can trust, who understands how much money you're going to need in retirement and how much money you'll need to retire on? If not, why not? So why don't you do this right now? Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Let's talk. Let's visit. No cost or obligation about your situation. See why the name Tony Walker Financial is so well respected in the retirement circles. We want to help you be worry-free. Log on, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. You remember, though, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.